Good morning, Westeros!
And welcome to our Morning Throners podcast.
I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Kyle.
And we're the fucking Morning Throners.
And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We are your Morning Throners with John, 3 in the Wildlings on deck. What's up, gentlemen?
Yo!
Hello.
I mean, it was mostly just one wildling, right?
Yeah, a lot of time with one Wildling.
Jon Snow and one wildling and a bunch of George's awkward sexual fantasies.
He got in detail here.
I feel like it wouldn't be as awkward if you didn't know that George wrote it. You know what I mean? Like if
It's still weird to read, man. I don't know. Ladies,
I mean, I don't read.
like Erica loves
books.
reading.
Yeah,
these,
but like girls like romance books, right?
Yeah, I don't know how.
I feel like not knowing the author would really help. At least,
And then she listens to this podcast and they talk about it, right? But then at the end of it,
not this podcast,
not this podcast. No, a podcast.
We talk about different stuff.
Yeah,
she reads another book, Akatar. I don't know. It's all the ladies read it. Court of Thorns and Roses or something. But anyway, at the end of the podcast she listens to, it's like this comedy podcast kind of on it, and they make their husbands or dudes read the excerpts from the book, and so I've heard some of them. I'm like, how do you read this? Like, how is it? But then they it is kind of funny when they make other people do it. But
yeah.
Good chapter. I think it's going to be a quick one for us. It is a little bit weird in the middle there when he gets into details.
I mean, we get some cool stuff about the wall and the watch, and there's some good stuff, but it gets off the rails fast, and then she kind of brings it back with Gendel or whatever, and then it goes right off the rails again, and then there's reason, I guess, we need to know Jon is living up to his end, and he's not gonna get caught as a spy. But did they have to talk about it that much? I don't know. I don't want to be prudish. It's just weird. It just doesn't seem necessary.
Yeah, I'll give a quick synopsis for it. Jon says bye to Ghost and struggles with his vows with loving Ygritte. It's that's basically
that's pretty much it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna say I think this is one of the more meh chapters, and I don't say that very often. This is definitely a meh chapter. I mean, there's parts I like. I like the story time.
It's just awkwardly written too. I think you've said that before.
What do you mean?
The sex scenes that George writes are just awkward.
Yeah, it just completely changed his style.
I'm not a sex romance book guy, so I don't know. If one of our fans who listens to this is also big 50 Shades of Grey fan, let us know. How does George's sex scene stack up? It definitely isn't my taste, but it's one of those things where I don't know if any sex scene is my taste. So
now that you say that,
I think it's pretty accurate to how those are written.
And I think part of it is, for some reason, when I'm reading a fight scene, I don't picture George in the back of my head. But when I'm reading a sex scene, even if I'm picturing Jon and Ygritte, there's also just a creepy old guy in the back watching.
George is sitting in the corner.
So at least for me, knowing what George looks
He's behind the waterfall watching him.
I do kind of see that. So for me, at least, just knowing what George looks like also makes it creepier. This one's not bad. Jon's underage. Ygritte's 19, so it's for me that I don't think it's that bad. But
I mean, this is probably the least we've seen.
There's 13-year-olds getting wedded.
That's what I'm saying. Period. I think it's just way worse when it's something with Dany, who's 14, right? I think it's just worse.
Well, when she started, it wasn't. And then Sansa's kind of the whole ripping her shirt off and stuff, real awkward when she was 12 or whatever, right? So
yeah.
Where are we at? Let's get started.
We haven't really started.
We get forcing the sex talk in early before we even got to it.
Yeah,
so.
let's get going. Let's get to Jon and Ghost. So Jon leaves the cave, walks by the Thens. He's like, I want to go up top and look for Ghost. Yeah, which he does go up there.
Yeah, we find out about it later, and we'll talk about it then. But they're in a pretty cool cave. They have a pretty cool setup really where they're chilling at right now. Yeah,
yeah, they have a network of hideaways, right? It's really what it comes down to, and they're all pretty awesome, like you said.
Yeah.
They're close enough to the wall they can see it, but there's no way the wall can see them. But anyway, he goes up on top of a mountain hill that they're in, and Ghost is sitting up there, right?
I didn't think about this when I was reading, but to the point you're just saying where they had this network, I didn't think that the wildling. I didn't think about it but you're probably right. They probably knew this was here before they got here.
Oh, they know 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it just makes me think back to when Jon and Corran were like let's take the horses to this stream, double back through the water into this waterfall cave, right?
Yeah.
And Jon and Corran hide in this waterfall cave, and then they're we'll sneak our way through and come out this other secret entrance, and then they come out and they're just
and
the eagles.
caught.
I think the eagle is just waiting for them.
Yeah.
So it's just like, yeah, and I think we might have said it back then. Do they know the tunnels?
They know the tunnels way better than.
Which is also kind of interesting to the point, like, are these tunnels actually just everywhere, all over, and connected underneath? Who knows? Maybe.
I mean, you never know, especially this one.
Yeah.
Like they stop going down.
100% what they believe, right? Like, there's definitely wildling lore that those tunnels are everywhere, and like I don't think Ygritte doesn't think that's true. I think she thinks it's true.
We'll get to it later when we get to the cave stuff, but I don't know if I quite agree with that. So, but let's get back to here. So with Ghost on the Hill.
So John mentions like some quick talk about the stars, just because it is a clear night. I guess there wasn't a whole lot of clear nights, but they are out there tonight, and just kind of like a cool little comparison to like how he was brought up getting taught the stars, and Ygritte had a completely different knowledge of the stars.
Some were the same though, which is kind of neat, right?
So yeah. Also, was Bran the last chapter? I'm confused because like we're a few ahead, so I was editing. I was editing Bran, but Danny was no.
Lord Alistair. So that's
Davos.
It was Davos.
Okay, that's right. There's some things in this chapter though that reminded me of Bran, and it might be because I was reading this and taking notes on this at the same time.
So
I was
I
editing
get that
Bran.
a lot. And I think we pointed out a lot, but I feel like some of them are back to back, and there are a bunch of like kind of like this versus that happens in the book.
But this one had the Davos snuck in, but I still think there are some parallels. And the one here that just pointed out here is the constellation. The one that John mentions is the Ice Dragon. I think that's the one that Bran's following, the blue eye and the.
Yeah, that's like the most true North, right?
It's the North Star, yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that definitely in the last Bran chapter.
And the other thing that I think is really interesting that Kyle pointed out is that some of these are common, like constellations, and some of them are not common constellations.
Well, I think some of that probably comes down to like real life too, right? Like there's definitely some that look like what they are describing, like the Big Dipper or whatever. But then there's other ones that like I think it's like stretch your imagination, and so like maybe whatever tribe or whoever was looking at that one saw one thing, and he even gets into that, and it was sacred to them, but it's like the evil to the other group because they like it's a scorpion versus snake or whatever, and like it's neat.
I think it's interesting. It shows the culture too, right? Because the one that John sees is the king's crown. But up here in the north, where there's no kings, I mean, Mance is they all call him the king beyond the wall, so they do kind of have a king. But for the most part, there's not supposed to be a king, so they call that the cradle. But then, the Red Wanderer that the Septons preached was sacred to their smith. Up here, they called their thief. And then she tells him that when the thief is in the Moon Maid, it was a good time to steal a woman.
Steal that girl. Steal that girl you've been looking
a lady,
at.
Baby.
So they talk about that, like how that kind of works out a little bit later too. And I think it's kind of interesting. It's not as much just like...
I think it is interesting too. I agree.
We'll talk again. There's definitely like political. I don't know what to say. I like it, but like there's interesting aspects.
Yeah, I mean, again, let's not act like we're in 2023.
I want to hear what you have to say.
In this book,
to me, it kind of has a little bit of like the dad on the porch with the shotgun is just like a total viable thing. Like if you don't like the guy who's coming around sniffing around your daughter, like or even your friend, like one of your like the chicks who's like in your
brother,
clan,
your sister,
or your brother or sister.
Well, no, I meant that's what she calls him.
Yeah, just like kill him. You know what I mean? Like if we don't like this guy, kill him, which I think is like a good thing. Like it prevents like somebody from going like head over heels and going with like
thing to just kill him.
Let's get there when we get there. All right,
the purge is all right. Says Nelson.
We'll have to think about how to say this in a good way.
You heard it here first.
I feel like it's coming off pretty bad.
You're not doing well.
He also thinks of Ygritte being stubborn as Arya, if not maybe even a little bit more stubborn than Arya, which is pretty interesting. He kind of has a thought about Arya, like their relationship.
Yeah, he wonders if they're still sisters, if they ever really were, because he's just a bastard. No more. He didn't have any more place at Winterfell than Theon.
Yeah,
but he kind of gets into my theory as well, though, where it was like that he's not actually Ned's, because he doesn't outright say it, but he's like, how could even Ned have like one moment of forgetting his vows, and like I don't know, you can tell he's kind of wrestles with this idea of seeing Ned as being possible to father a bastard.
Well, yeah, to that point. Sorry, no.
You're good. I was just gonna say, John never really thinks about this like very much, and this is a chapter where it comes up like multiple times, like him thinking about Ned and like I'm a bastard, blah blah blah. And to that point, like when I read that, I was like, this does kind of sound like what Kyle's saying.
Mm-hmm. But to that point, just kind of the other side of the coin, it's like the one thing that's allowing himself to kind of be dishonorable is like, all right, my dad was dishonorable this one time. Like as long as if you can do it once, almost like. And I know he does it half 100 times with the ego, but like in his mind, it's still like, all right, it's just this one person, maybe. But
Yeah.
Well, yeah, once
he's gonna
you do it
justify
once,
it
right?
regardless.
Like,
But
I agree. I think the reason he brings it up is because he's seeing himself in those shoes, and he's like,
I
I'm
know.
still really honorable. I'm just like Ned. I'm just still like my dad.
we're not
you know
at
what
that
I mean?
part yet, but so we'll get to that when we get to that.
Yeah.
I feel like we're way off track, and we've been way off
Yeah.
track, and I don't think it's bad discussion, but it's
well,
not
well,
following
part of
our
the
normal
chapter.
format. is
Well, when
all.
we jump ahead like that, normally it makes it like when we get to that, we skip over it. So
Yeah, we go a little faster. I understand. I'm just saying, like, if we want to follow our normal format, now's an opportunity
Yeah.
to get back on track.
So he does find Ghost at the top, and
Yep.
Ghost is just chilling there, almost like he was waiting for him.
yep.
Quick little. They're both marked by the eagle. They both got scars.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that. And what I thought was cool here is he asked Ghost if Ghost sees the same constellation, like what he names the constellations: the hare, the doe, the she-wolf. And again, that just made me think of the Bran chapter because we had story time. Have we ever heard the word she-wolf besides maybe like talking about Nymeria? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I
Arya's
understand
actual
when
wolf.
he's seeing she-wolves or whatever.
Yeah, like just a she-wolf was like one of the main characters in the story, and then here that's like and it makes sense like that you could have a constellation she-wolf, but it just stuck out to me because I was already thinking of the Bran chapter too because of the thing we just talked about. But
So John's got some sad news for Ghost. He's going over tomorrow.
yep,
No
We must
stairs
separate.
for him.
dude,
Yeah.
gotta
so,
be alone.
So sad. I'm just thinking about Luke when I'm reading
That
this.
is hard, man. I can't imagine it. Like, at least he's a wolf and
I was gonna say,
not a dog. Like, he's gonna be able to survive on his own. Like, he's already hunting and eating on his
that's
own.
what I was gonna say. He's been out, like, kind of disappearing occasionally already. It's not like he's like at John's side 24/7. It's like he's
Yeah.
gone for hours and just shows back up. So
Yeah, I mean,
it still sucks. Don't
I,
get me wrong.
I don't think it's that he's afraid he's gonna die. It's more for me like,
It's
are we
the
ever gonna see him again?
companionship, for sure.
Are we ever gonna
Yeah.
see him again? Like what I was gonna say is he's a special wolf, but still like you can't tell a wolf to be like, oh, just go east.
Meet
you know what I
me.
mean? Like
2 months.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Again.
you can't just tell a wolf to go like go east.
Normal.
It's not just gonna like know what that.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
But again, this isn't. We know that there's
He might-
a little
he
bit
might- yeah, he
weirder
might be able
shit
to
going
control
on
him.
here. Yeah.
They have a connection for sure. So I
And
think
he
it's
talks
all
about
different.
that.
A Ghost is kind of, or these,
Yeah.
all these direwolves just have shown up at very opportune times. So.
Yeah, I'm not saying I don't think it's likely that he shows up at Castle Black. I'm just saying like if you're John, you would probably be like,
Yeah.
what the fuck's good? I'm never gonna
Sure.
see this wolf again, right?
But yeah, he does
on
talk
that.
about
He's
it.
talking
They-
about the warging
they
thing.
call him
Everyone's
the
calling him
warg.
warg, and he's like,
Yeah.
I don't like. I kind of get it because I got a big ass wolf that follows me around, and like we're really close. But I literally only like had that one dream that came true. But besides that,
Yep.
I'm just a piss poor warg.
Well, that's what's funny, right? He's batting 100 right now, though. Like, I mean, sure, it was only once, but that one was like perfect.
Yeah.
It's like the actually would happen.
Yeah. He called exactly.
So, I mean-
and it was exactly what they needed. Like they were in the forest.
Yeah, but it's not like he's like having
all.
all these weird cryptic dreams or whatever, and like just one of them kind of made sense. It's like this is like the only time it ever happened. It
Well,
was
when
perfect. So
Bran-
there is some weird connection.
So we hear about weird dreams like that from Jojin, but anytime Bran's actually warged, he's never had anything cryptic, right? Like he's just like normally just summer,
Yeah.
running around
Yeah.
the wolf.
A wolf.
The wolf.
I know.
Godswood.
I'm not saying.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just saying it's not like he's having these cloudy dreams and cloudy visions and like vague
Yeah,
seeing
yeah.
things. He's got this one dream that was perfectly to the detail
Spot
what
on.
happened.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So he tells Ghost to go back to Castle Black, and Ghost runs off. In which direction or to where? Who knows? But he's out. He's like, fuck this. I'm outie.
Yeah.
Well, it's almost like he
What-
understood though, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Well, John.
I guess
It says John wonders if he was off to Castle Black or just to chase a hare, which again is
I know, but it's still like, I mean, he's like, okay, alone, I'm alone, and then he goes.
yeah. He's like, Roger that, I'm out.
yeah. It's almost like, all right, orders taken.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel that.
No need to draw this out. Yeah.
He didn't. Yeah, he didn't say goodbye. It was Ghost Eyes was like, all right, see you later.
Yeah.
Well, he probably didn't get to sleep next to John anymore anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
unless it.
Well-
they're running out of room in the first. That's for sure.
So actually, on that point, I think the end of the last chapter, right, the last John chapter, to kind of wrap it up because it does come up a few times here, is John was like, I think they go to see the giants, right? Like I think the chapter
Yeah,
starts
he
off
went
with him
to go-
seeing the giants. It ends with Mance is like, come up here, and they're at the fist, and they see all the dead horses.
Yeah,
and
he's like, you
they're-
lied to me.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, you lied to me, and he's like, and Egret stands up for him. He's like, oh no, we've been having sex every night, or we've been having sex on we've been tumbling underneath the cloaks or whatever. And afterwards, he's like, you lied for me. And she's like, I didn't lie. I just didn't say when we started. Right. Which goes back to what we're about to get into. He's like, I had no other choice. I literally like promised her, okay, I will tonight. And if I don't, like, I'm a traitor pretty much. Like,
well, it's one time.
You stood up for me, but I'm guessing it's that night, the night that she stands up for him at the fist and basically lies to Mance for him. Okay. That is the night that he has to prove himself. Well, just when we get to that. But he also thinks about something that Mance says
later on after they've actually been diddling.
No, it's at the same point. It's right then after she stands up for him. Basically, Mance is like, is that the way of it, John? Are you two together? And this is from the last John chapter. It was easy to lose your way beyond the wall. John did not know that he could tell honor from shame anymore, or right from wrong. Father, forgive me. Yes, he said. Mance nodded. Good. You will go with Jarl and Stir on the morrow, then. Both of you. Far be it from me to separate two hearts that beat as one.
Yeah.
So that's what Mance had said to them. That's what basically he's thinking back on now.
It's kind of like his get out of jail free card. Like, as long as I'm banging Ygritte or like in love with Ygritte, Mance is going to give me a pass to at least be with her.
Well,
right?
it's the slightest shred of proof that he's given up his vows, right? Like, there's not much he can do.
Yeah.
I mean, he killed Corrin, so that was one massive thing.
Pretty
but
big.
Like, they kind of already figured out. Well, they blame it on the wolf too, but they don't really trust that. Like, at least Rattleshirt doesn't.
Well, I think also in the first John chapter, they asked John, hey, how many were with you? And he's like, oh, it was just the 7 of us. So in the second John chapter, they're like, yo, what the fuck? So they definitely don't trust him at this point. They're like, all right. And that's why he sent him over.
Yeah.
To go to make sure he's
well, yeah, there's a couple reasons, right? I mean, he's also a good person to send over. He knows the other side of the wall.
Yeah. But Mance does say, like, it's time to find out, like, how
yeah, for sure. Yeah. All right, you're going on the fucking the dangerous ass mission we have planned.
Yeah, so while we're talking about the wall, that's kind of where he goes to next. He's looking up at the wall, and he's thinking of the path that they took to get there, which was a pretty tough, slow trek. And he's assuming they're between the Shadow Tower and Castle Black. So
yeah, and we find out later that that's true.
Yeah,
we hear about 2 castles that I think we've actually heard about both of them before.
And they get to like more, I guess, closer exactly where they are.
Exactly. Yeah, I think there's 19 castles along the wall. It might be 16, but I think it's 19. So yeah, like I'm not sure if Castle Black is the exact midpoint, but assume it is. Then you have 9 between the Shadow Tower and Castle Black. So we narrow it down way more. Yeah, between to 2. Yeah,
19.
I thought it was interesting when he was like, I think there's a lot of talk about a horn, right? Like, he could get a horn, that'd be easy, but there might not be a brother within 40 miles to hear it.
Because the wall is just so poorly manned.
Unmanned and large.
100 leagues long. I should have looked this up. What's a league? Does anybody guys know off the top of your head?
We definitely have looked that up before, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's a measurement, 20,000 leagues under the sea.
1 league is 3 miles. So 1,000 leagues is 3,000 miles. 3,400 miles.
Wow, that's a lot of miles.
It's a long wall.
Can you just give me Florida to Pennsylvania?
Yeah. $1,100. So 3 times that.
That's crazy.
That's a long wall.
give me Florida or Pennsylvania to San Francisco. Is this as the crow flies or?
Yeah, I mean,
no. This is my map. It's pretty straight though. It's pretty straight.
As the horse runs.
That one's 2,700 miles.
Dude, that's crazy. It's longer than.
Either John is exaggerating or George is just super overzealous with this world.
That is huge.
I don't know.
Tell me if I'm doing this.
No shit, they don't have enough men to man this wall. The United States wouldn't have enough men to man this wall.
You literally have 19 castles across the entire length of the United States. Like what?
Oh, and 4 people walk across it to guard this.
Yeah, and they're walking it. Yeah,
the
exactly.
Walk would take
I'll take my mule from here to Kansas in one night.
We have to have something wrong with somebody tell me what I did wrong with that measurement there. That has to be on me. Or George's. Yeah, wild.
Something's going on there. We'll dive into that more. But yeah, so basically John said, like, man, I should have killed Mance when I had the chance. It was a very fleeting moment. I don't think he had a long chance.
That was kind of a weird thought in my opinion. Like, first off, like, killing Mance isn't going to do shit right now.
Yeah.
Well, so when he was on the fist, he did go for his sword, and Mance was like, "Don't try it." And I think right now he's just saying, like, I should have tried it.
I don't even think that was really his chance to kill him, though, right?
Yeah,
it was more so like whenever Mance said like, "Hi, I'm Mance."
Yeah, maybe the first time would probably been his.
But
best
like,
chance.
I don't even know if he had a weapon then. But he was also surrounded.
Yeah, you're right.
He didn't
probably
really have
a
that good of
then.
a chance.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I mean, he's also 15. He thinks he's probably got this like image in his head of he's gonna
hothead.
Yeah,
hothead
but
John.
Mance was surrounded, and Egret was always pretty close.
Yep. So I don't know if I'd say I might be jumping ahead, but is this where they say how many people they're with? There's 100 Thens.
Yeah, and more than 100 picked Thens and Raiders.
Yeah,
and Raiders.
And Raiders.
Maybe
and I think so. What I was thinking was later he says that Steer brought 5 times as many men as Jarl, and Steer brought 100. So that means there's 120 of them.
Very good. Is you confident in that math?
Confident in that math. Yep, got that one. I thought about that when I was not drunk.
Yeah, so that takes us to Mance's comment about 2 hearts that beat as one. Mm-hmm. He thinks about Eager being close, and then we get into the first time of them diddling.
Yeah, and again, Prepper throughout this, I think a lot of the point for a lot of this that seems redundant is John is always thinking like about his vows. Like, am I still a brother? Am I like, because even like,
like, I don't know. He's getting real caught up in this, and like he had to fucking kill Corn. Like, if that wasn't enough for him to realize, like, okay, Corn wants me to pause all this other stuff and not worry about it, and everything is for the good of them.
Sure, but also I could see like he's with. If he wasn't like. At one point he says like I don't like any of the Thens pretty much. They all suck. If it was like them, it would be easy to betray them. But I do like some of them. Like I like Egret. I like Long Spear. I think like it's part of like I like these guys. If I was just with these guys and we were just chilling, like I wouldn't want to betray them. Like and now I'm diddling Egret every night. Like you know what I mean? Like I think it would be kind of easy to fall into the like
am I one of them now?
So bad. Yeah,
like for real.
Yeah.
Okay, it's kind of reminding himself what he really is here for. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. I think it's kind of like mentor reminders, like, "Hey, stay focused. We're still here. Like these guys aren't our friends." Yeah, especially when he's like alone like this, like thinking back, like on top of a hill at nighttime. Cool moment. But yeah.
So pretty much, he's like, "Yeah, I have to do this. I'm playing a part."
Yeah.
But I don't want to do this, but my body is really all about this. It feels great. Everything's awesome.
He's excited.
Yeah, body has no problem.
Like, hell yeah, man.
One thing too, like just playing the part, like he also needs her trust too. So
and he owes her.
If he ever loses her trust, she would just kind of throw him to the wildlings, right?
Well, again, I think a lot of what he's saying there is like she literally stood. I think it's because that's the night that she stood up for him. Like. Right, she stood up for me tonight, and like again, I think like the last line of that last John chapter was like, "It wasn't a lie. I just didn't say when we started." You know what I mean? Which
time to go bang.
Which means like, let's go right now.
Yep.
So I think this is him kind of thinking back to that moment, and this
is
the
best part. Sorry,
I was just gonna say, and he thinks to what Kyle said earlier, like the Ned thing. Like Ned did it once.
Yep.
That was it. So I'm only gonna do it once. I'm just like him. Like I'm as honorable as him. Bangs falls right back into it,
and that's the best part of this little paragraph or section is like, and I only fell into that trap once, and then I fell into it 3 more times
that night, and again in the morning.
And in the morning. I thought that was funny,
but it wasn't his fault. It was her fault, right?
Yeah,
like that's kind of what
he had to do it. Yeah, like what else was I gonna do?
He's playing a part.
Poor John.
Was when she found him with a morning throner, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Morning throner, rock hard morning throner.
Yeah, exactly. And so that was when it was her. Like she's like, well, we gotta do something, and then
exactly.
Yeah. All right, so
like
off
a pair
the
of
first
running dogs.
Yeah, because everyone notices them. They're just doing it in front of everybody. Like
that's
well, I mean, there's no rooms or anything.
I didn't think about this, but it's kind of like Danny, right? Like once Danny was like finally like when she like kind of stopped getting raped and was like kind of more okay with it, she like took him outside and like just did it in front of everybody. John's not quite doing that, but like I mean, everyone knows what's going on. Jarl, to Kyle's point, he thinks themselves as dogs because Jarl kicks him. Is like, come on. Get a move on, and John's like, damn it, like what is this?
Yeah. And if we think about this culture too, right? If we think about the Dothraki, that's a big part of like sex is equal to war with them, right? Like they have war and then they have sex. And
anything that matters is done underneath the stars.
Yeah. And then like these, I would say, I mean, they're wildlings, right? So like, oh yeah, they're having sex like dogs. Like you just kind of like 2 dogs don't give a shit. Like if they're banging it out, they're gonna go bang it out in the corner, or they might not even go to the corner.
Exactly.
Banging out with your arm, banging out with the sheets. Like, I've seen them banging out with stuffed animals. The dogs don't care.
Dogs don't care at all. Yeah. So again, John just thinks back, like, is this how it was really for my dad? Like, is he just like running dogs? Yeah.
So one of the Thens comes up to him and basically says Magnar wants him. They obviously don't speak the common tongue.
Yeah. Well, he speaks like a broken common tongue. I think it's just cool when he comes up. At first, John's like, I thought it was Ghost, but then I remember Ghost doesn't make any noise. He's silent.
It's too loud. Yeah,
yeah, it's kind of badass. Just a little reminder.
Yeah,
but yeah, they don't speak good normal tongue. They speak like the same language. I'm guessing as the giants, right? Didn't he say the giants spoke the old tongue?
Yes, I believe so.
I thought so.
And maybe it's like even like weirder because they're giants, right?
Which is it kind of makes sense. Like,
but
these
what's
are like
his name was talking to him.
These are like the most old of the old gods, or not old gods, old first men.
First men, right?
Magnar's saying he's like the last official first man.
Yeah, I mean that's probably it. Could be hearsay.
I'm guessing this is I'm sure that's like a self-inflated title, so exactly.
First men.
But like it just makes me think that that's probably like first men talk, right? That's where that came from, or
sure. I mean, what's his name? Why can't I think of his fucking name?
Who? Tormund?
The guy Tormund was talking to the giants with
with the old tongue,
right?
Yep.
So. Yeah, so we get into the cave here. Pretty nice cave that could conceal them from the wall. We hit on that.
Yep. It's like hidden behind a tree.
Yeah, perfectly, right?
Yeah.
Little sliver. Yeah, it's cool.
And it faces north, so
that
like
any light coming out.
all the light comes out the other way.
Yeah, all the light comes out to the north, so that like anybody who was walking on the wall wouldn't be able to. I mean, if there was a ton of light, you'd be able to see it. But yeah, it's not like super.
But it's
obvious.
the little sliver. It's pointing the other way. It's probably covered. There's a big ass pine
right
tree
in front
there.
of it. Yeah. And it's just big enough to get horses in, which is great because we got everybody in here. Like I said, 120 people. This is a big cave.
Well, then it opens up big time. Yeah, it's huge.
It's like a great hall. He said it's as big as Winterfell's great hall.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. And then there's these other little tunnels. Like who knows how many there are? Like it's a pretty wild thought of like this actual cave, like how big it is.
Especially with the story we get later, because then like it's like, damn, is that actually possible?
Yeah.
Like we're hearing the story while we're in like a kind of a crazy cave system, like Minecraft style. I mean,
well, yeah,
our
there's
fans
like a huge
Minecraft guys.
doubt.
Like you're in Minecraft and like you make that little like loop
You
around
get
the wall,
lost
or you make
quick.
like one dig and you're just like into a whole nother world. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and there's a big ass hole in the middle of the floor. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like you could just fall to your deth.
I've been Gender a couple times. And you just got to start digging your way up. Like they didn't have a diamond pickaxe to do what I did.
Get completely lost down there. Exactly.
Dude,
it's not hard.
While we're on the Minecraft, there's nothing great of being lost in a cave. And then you just start digging up, and then you're in like the living room of your house. And it's like, well, I guess I was close.
The worst.
How does that work?
I don't think that's ever happened for me. I feel like I always come out deep underwater, so that even if I find the light of day, I just drown on the way to the surface. Nothing accomplished.
Yeah, that's not good. All right, so he gets in. Jarl is with Magnar. We learn a little bit more about Jarl here. Nelson, do you want to rattle off what we learn about him?
So yeah, we had heard some of this before, right? I think that's what you're talking about. That Mance, when he was first introduced, that he was Val's pet, and Val is Dalla's sister, and Dalla was the pregnant lady
queen
with Mance. Exactly.
Yeah.
So John says Jarl is kind of like the good brother once removed. What the fuck does that mean? Doesn't that just mean that he's like, oh, once removed means they're not actually related, and good brother just means
it's weird. It's like there's like cousin twice removed. I don't know what it means. Who cares?
I think
like
I
it's such a
understand once removed
pretentious
now.
thing.
It's like Jeff would be once removed from his wife's sister's husband. So like what's your wife's sister's would be called to you, Jeff? Your sister-in-law. And that's because
that would be your brother-in-law.
No, that's your brother-in-law once removed because there's no
that'd be your brother-in-law.
No, because he doesn't share any blood relation to the actual sister. I'm guessing that's what it means based on this, because Jarl and Mance don't actually share any, like even their families don't share. You know what I mean? Like,
all right, here we go. Why do they call it a once removed cousin? To be once removed from a cousin means you are separated by one generation. The number.
We're not talking about cousins. We're talking about sister-in-laws.
Why would it be any different?
It's totally different. Cousin.
Once removed means all sorts of shit.
I've never even heard anything but being like a removed cousin.
Yeah,
anyway.
I've never actually heard of once removed sister-in-law, which is kind of what
I don't
he's
know what
getting
that
at
is.
But whatever, it doesn't matter. We're getting so off topic on so many random little things here. This is supposed to be a short
all right, so
episode.
to kind of your part, Nelson, the phrase once removed indicates that two people are one generation apart.
Yeah, that's not what this is at all. Yeah.
That just says relationship chart. That doesn't even say like cousin. chart. So I was gonna say like maybe it's
They're
two
not
people
cousins,
apart,
though.
like my wife and her sister, and then I have this brother-in-law, right? So it's kind of removed, but in that way I could see it. Two people separate us.
So anyway, Magnar is pissed. Magnar Steer, right?
Yep, steer.
Steer's pissed that Jarl is there because Jarl has no qualifications other than just like banging the king's wife's sister.
Exactly.
Like
yeah.
that's really it. So
He's a friend of a friend.
yeah, so like he's like mad. Like every time he's like, I'm doing like he pretty much is, like in charge. And
Yeah.
like he's very obviously pissed about Jarl.
But we do learn Jarl is pretty good at one thing, and that's getting over this wall. He's done it a ton.
That's what I was gonna say. John puts a little respect on his name. He's only
20.
not even.
But he
20.
should be in charge. He should be in charge of the climb.
Yeah, he's not even 20, and he's been riding for 8 years. So within the last 8 years, he's been over a dozen times. And again, we get some name drops: Alpha and Crowkiller, the Weeper. I think we've actually seen the Weeper.
We did. He was his eyes were all gross. Yeah.
But yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the Weeper.
And yeah, you're right. I guess I'm giving Jarl some besmirching his name as well here. I shouldn't be. He
But
does
to your
have
point,
qualifications. I said he didn't
I do
have
agree
any.
with. He does have many leadership qualities. He's
Yeah.
just
But
kind
here's
of around leadership people.
Mance never would have let him steal Val if he didn't have. You know what I mean? That's why that.
Well, that's not always true because like
I'm just kind
he
of.
might not have been there to be stolen from.
I know. I'm just trying to kind of point out a little bit here how I think that system might work a little
disagree. All right, so Stir wants to know the patrols, so John explains what's going on. I have them here. Do you want me to rattle through it, or we can take our time?
bit. Go ahead.
All right, so John explains that there's 4 people to a guard, 2 builders, and 2 rangers, and sometimes they walk along the top, and they'll have mules because they know the ice a little bit better, so they don't move that fast, but they're at least sure-footed.
Yep.
And sometimes one of the 4 groups will be at the base looking for cracks and or tunnels.
Well, yeah, they're all looking for cracks or sign of enemies. It's just different positions of the wall, exactly. And the top of the wall makes sense, right? Send more people up there so they can see in the distance.
Yep. And and I mean it's just crazy, and to the point of like if you the wall is so thick, which we hear about in this Arson Ice Axe story, that he's been tunneling for how long. They find him and just close him in and just know he's never going to get back out either side. So, like I don't think they're too worried about the tunneling, but
Also, Arson Ice Axe. What a name! It sounds like a
it's a cool nickname.
It's a very D&D name, man. Like fantasy.
It makes me think like he's had so many of these names where it's like hard. It's hard to be this creative. Like he almost had ChatGPT before this and was like, "All right, give me 50 names give me 50 nicknames."
I think you're giving him too much credit. A lot of them are he'll just like insert a Y where there should be a vowel, like Mance Raider, right?
Brendan
Just replaces that I with a
Sure.
Y. But he
does
also
it
said
a lot
that
though, right?
Come on.
He says he owns a lot of baby name books. Like he said that in interviews that he just buys
Well,
like,
it's
and like from like foreign places.
Jory, Jorah.
Yeah.
Like, come on,
I mean,
man.
he repeats a lot. How many Agons are there?
Some of that's on purpose because
know,
like he
he's
likes to make it historical.
Big Walter and Little Walter and Walter Frey and the other Walter Frey and the other
that's just
Walter
to
Frey.
troll. That's just him trolling.
All right, so the next part about these patrols is like how often do they go out? And this is something like John I think didn't even have to lie about. Like it's like I don't know. Like they've
But
changed.
they walk for
back
like
in
6
the day.
months is what we just figured out.
Yeah,
by
if that
the
is the
walking
distance.
leagues
through
is
Kansas,
true,
good
that
luck
can't be
finding
true. Yeah.
Uh,
It's one thing cool. I think he mentions here, Lord Commander Korgile, who I think we've heard once or twice before, was the Lord Commander before Mormont. He used to send them out regularly, like once every 3
third
days
day or
this
so,
way, and
yeah.
once every 2 days the other way. Which makes you think that like, did they just have more people back then? Because the thing that John says, like, we can't do that now. We just don't have enough people. But like, really, one generation ago, did they have that many? Or maybe Korgile's a few generations ago, and I'm assuming he's just one ago. But yeah, now Gior would just kind of do it more sporadically, like random, to kind of keep them on their toes. But I think it's because they really just don't have enough people.
I mean, I do think that is smart though. Even if you are down in numbers, like all right, like you're trying to make a plan to climb, and you know it's every 3rd day, like you're gonna go that 4th day. If we do it once and then bam, we're out the next day, and then maybe we take a month, like definitely keep you on your toes if you're
that
worried
also
about something like that.
also probably helps hide their numbers, right? Like hide the fact that they have less people. Because like if you could count the things, then you're like, okay, here's the same dudes again. Then you probably know about how many people are on the other side. But if it's like random and like you don't know how long
if there
it
was
took those people to get back,
I think
like,
if the wall was like adequately manned, like you'd need like 30,000 people, right?
okay,
that might be.
We got to figure out how long this thing actually is.
Say 19. So I think Castle Black's undermanned, but I think it's probably one of the bigger
so
castles.
literally the whole Lannister force would have to be up at the wall.
Yeah, probably. Say 1,000 for each castle and 2,000 for Castle Black is probably what you would need. Maybe I'm overzealous on how big the intermediate castles are, but get into the intermediate castles. One of the things that Mormont would do too is send like a big group every once in a while to just like post up at one of the little castles for a little bit. That way that like the wildlings could never be 100% sure that there was nobody there. He does say that this was Benjen's idea. Like Benjen was the one to keep up with this again, just to kind of keep them on their toes type thing. I think this is cool. Just also for the fact of like keep the men interested. Like if I was on the Night's Watch, it's kind of like a little field trip. You know what I mean? Like instead of just like building shit all the time or walking the wall, I get to go and have like a camp out at this other castle. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Somebody's
all right. I'm just while we're talking on this, I just googled a league. It looks like there's different leagues. There's a nautical league, which is what Nelson saw, a 3.4 miles deal. Then there's a what's it called? Medieval league, which is like 1.5 Roman miles, which.
So what's a Roman mile?
It's like 7,500 Roman feet again, so it's all kind of different. So
why the fuck
it's
were
just
they
Roman
on the
all the way
metric
down.
system? Why can't everybody just use the metric
How
system?
big is a Roman's foot?
I'm not going that deep. So there's a chance that we could be on like a Game of Thrones league. Like a league could be 100 yards for.
That's true. It could just be 100% made up. Let's assume 100 miles. That's probably decent, right? Nah, it's nothing.
100 miles. I don't know if that's long enough. That's like.
So if we're being realistic, if you want to do this, Jeff, while you're doing Googling.
Well, it was 1,000. It was 1,000 leagues. So it was 1,000 miles in.
You're right, 1,000. You're right. 1,000.
I would. I mean, that would be.
On, Jeff, while you're doing Googling, I'm pretty sure he based Westeros off Europe flipped upside down. So just go get like drop a pin on either side of Europe.
Wait, would you think Spain is kind of above the wall?
Spain? No, not Europe. England.
Oh, just England. Yeah. Nelson was saying
he did. I think he said both. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, it does kind of look like where Edinburgh is, and across Glasgow.
Jeff, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Just drop the pins.
All right, at what I think, Edinburgh straight across, kind of the top of England, is as the crow flies, 63 miles.
No, okay. Well, then he changed the distance for sure.
That's nothing. Yeah, 19 cows. Yeah. Definitely cover that.
So let me flip it upside down, and we'll go.
No. Don't even worry about that.
No, go ahead.
He just changed the scale.
We've already walked away too far,
and we're going like right across the thickest part of southern
the fattest
England.
part. Yeah, why not?
Norwich, east of Norwich to west of Wales, 300 miles.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn, 300 miles. Yeah, it's 1,000 leagues though.
You're not gonna put 19 castles in 300 miles.
Did he say 1,000 or did I read that wrong? It was 1,000, right? We're all over the place in this episode. What the fuck? It was 100 leagues. 100 leagues. It was 100 leagues. So I did the math super wrong earlier. That's why I was saying 3,000. It was only supposed to be, even with my nautical league, it was only 300.
So it would be 300.
So Florida to PA was way bigger than I've just had us fucked up.
Man, you just blew everybody's mind and then
guys,
put it back together.
It's Wednesday. Today's Wednesday, right? I've already worked 42 hours this week. My brain is fried. Give me a break. Let's go.
Yeah. All right.
I better go double check some of the math I did this week.
The next question is Stone Door or Grey Guard guarded? And that's where we get into, all right, I thought we were between Black and Shadow Tower. Now I know we're here. And fuck no, like they're not guarded. There's only 3 guarded. Yep. Like, come on. And then we get some numbers game.
He does. John kind of pulls a little BS there. He's like, no, only 3 are guarded when I left. Who knows what Bowen Marsh or Dennis Mallister might have done?
Yeah.
Well, I was gone.
That's kind of true, but like we know they don't have the manpower. Yeah.
Well, and even in the map on the front, like there's literally 3 that say, let me see,
manned at present or something.
They say castle. And then the other ones have a diamond with no fill, and they say ruined castle.
Yeah.
So like it's pretty clear that they're not
Gotcha.
they're not doing so hot.
It's not just not man. They're not in good shape. Yeah.
Yes, ruined doesn't mean they're in a good state.
Yeah. So they asked about numbers. John,
Well, even Castle Black's not in a good place, right? Like
it's not. It's been better.
They lost what 200 men. 200
when it's
men
falling
went north,
apart
or-
though, like there's buildings falling apart.
Well, I mean, John burned John burned
the
one of
Lord's
them
chambers
down.
were on
One of the
fire.
towers down.
True.
All right, so how many people, Nelson?
500 at Castle Black, 200 at Shadow Tower, 300 at Eastwatch. But John says he just pulled 300 men out of thin air and wished it was actually that easy. So I'm guessing he added an extra 100 at each spot.
Jarl just popped off too.
Jarl's like, lie.
Jarl popped off. It was like liar.
I was just guessing that the wildlings have a pretty good thumb on at least the wildlings near the wall. Like we hear that Steer and the Thens are like way fucking up north. So he probably doesn't know exactly how many, but like Jarl and them, especially Jarl's been over 8 times,
Jarl's
over 12
climbing
times.
it and shit.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think
Like,
about
he
that.
probably
But yeah,
knows.
he's seen
Yeah.
the numbers on good times, and that's what he says. Like maybe before your group, we just got killed on the fist.
To Jeff's point, for all we know, Jarl's climbed over, thrown on a different shirt, or maybe even not, and then just walked up to Shadow Tower and been like, "Hey guys, I'm from the south. What's going on? How many guys you got here? You need another one?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm deciding not to, and just leave before he says his vows. He could have done that
Yeah.
for every fucking castle.
Or he just like kind of climbed the wall and just like kind of looked over and was like, actually about
Yeah,
50 guys
You're
here.
on top still, yeah.
Yeah. So we learn a little bit more about the Thens here after they kind of get off like the lies. We're like, all right, we'll figure out sooner or later because we'll be there. The Thens are pretty badass people, and Stur must be the biggest badass because they follow
When
him.
he's like a deity almost, right?
Yeah, the Magnar. So Magnar also, we learned in one of the other John chapters, Magnar is just the old men. So it's literally like an old tongue word for Lord. So when they say the Magnar of Then, they just mean the Lord of Then, and Then is a area in the north, like a territory. So what he says here is the Magnar, so basically the Lord. The Magnar claimed to be the last of the first men and ruled with an iron hand. His little land of Then was a high mountain valley hidden amongst the northernmost peaks of the Frostfangs, surrounded by cave dwellers, hornfoot men, giants, and the cannibal clans of the ice rivers. Ygritte said the Thens were savage fighters, and that their Magnar was god to them. John could believe that. Unlike Jarl and Harma and Rattleshirt, Steer commanded absolute obedience from his men, and that discipline was no doubt part of why Mance had chosen him to go over the wall.
This is you want to do parallels. This is to Danny, right? And this Unsullied.
That's a good. Yeah, I didn't think about that, but that's a
Because
good.
these dudes are hardcore. They follow their leader 100%. They're
In a different way, yeah.
You know.
I didn't think about that.
They're not
either,
like
too.
zombie
Yeah.
mode, but they're like, this guy's our god. Yeah, hardcore guys. I kind of see it.
like, I mean, maybe not. I don't. We haven't seen them fight yet, so who knows if it's zombie mode. But it doesn't seem the Magnar's cutting anybody's nipples off or anything. So
Well, again, I don't want to go into it, at least in this part of the podcast, but the Thens are depicted very differently in the show. And I think that's part of why I want to point it
that's
out.
not my fault.
No, I know. I just want to point it out here because I bet you a lot of the listeners are like, have seen the show more times than read the books. I've seen the show more times than read the book. So even when I read the Thens, I'm like, wait, really? So I think they're definitely different, and I want to make a distinction because to your point, I think it's like they are kind of badass and like they're surrounded like by just crazy people, cannibals, like giants, like and they're just as far north as north gets. Like, yeah, these guys are hard people. Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to the last section of this chapter, which I think we can motor through pretty quickly. He gets back to him and Egret's
John
stuff,
was
and she's
motoring
gone.
through it pretty quickly. Go ahead. Sorry.
he seemed to take his time a little bit. So John's looking for Egret. Greg points to the back of the cave. It's pretty dark. He's kind of looking. Egret's giggling at him. He finds a tunnel that Egret had found, and they went down decently far.
Yeah, again, just it makes me. I'm such a nerd, but it just makes me think of Minecraft. Like when I'm thinking caves, Kyle's probably thinking Deep Rock Galactic. Similar, is that what that game's called?
Yeah,
Rock
that
and
game was
Stone?
called that. Yeah, I fucking love that game. Yeah, so good.
All right, so he finds Egret, and they get just into this talk of the tunnels, which Nelson's probably going to spend a decent amount of time on this tunnel. So
the one thing that also Ygritte just saying, you know nothing, Jon Snow, the entire time.
Yeah,
I think she has
A
said
lot
it
of
once
times.
before, but this is like a thing that like
I feel like you guys pointed it out the first time or the first couple times.
this is something that I would have been surprised if you hadn't heard, just like in pop culture or whatever, just because.
Yeah, like on a T-shirt.
I'm sure
it's probably
been
been on a
Drinking
T-shirt.
no things,
like,
you know nothing, Jon Snow. I got you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I drink and know things actually is never actually in the books. That's a show.
Okay, but I meant these are just things that are on all the merch. Is all I was saying. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Egret's kind of like, yeah, we got all these tunnels all across the north here, and there's also one that goes under the wall, and that's Gorn's tunnel.
Yeah, but even his fucking twin brother couldn't figure it out on the way back. So like, does that tunnel exist? Has anybody used it since?
Very quickly, Gorn and Gender were wildlings that tunneled south of the wall.
Brother kings? That's weird, right? Like normally the brothers would just like kill each other to decide who's
But they're
king,
twins,
not like
though,
do
right?
it together.
Maybe they were. Yeah,
Were they twins? I don't know, but I think it's more of a wildling thing where it's not really as much king as just like I'm gonna be the one to get us south.
They might not
right?
have been twins. I'm sorry, but I thought they were.
I don't think it really matters.
I think only Gorn was king. I don't even know if they mentioned Gendel.
John says Gorn. He was the king beyond the wall, and Ygritte says Gorn along with his brother Gendel. They led a host. Like period. They led a host. So
whatever. Maybe they led together. Maybe
to your point about the twins too. And Jeff, I think you like history. Like, isn't there like Romulus and Remus were like two twins who founded Rome?
Yeah. And they suckled on a wolf, I believe, right?
They were sucking on the wolves' teats together.
Again, that kind of gives me this vibes. Like kind of like this. Like, is it? Somebody said this earlier. They have like this lore. I feel like they all know that there's like this like thing behind the wall. I don't know if it's lore or myth. I think Jeff, you were saying it. Like the wildlings all know about this like passage beneath the wall.
I said that.
If they did, I don't think they would.
Yeah.
Like
it's myth. It's myth.
What do you mean? You don't think she believes this?
There has to be some truth to it because John knows the story too, right? So
I mean, is there some truth to mythology too? Some truth. I'm not saying all truth, but
the thing that I think is weird is that everyone should be looking for this tunnel. Like, there's a way to do it. Just tie a rope to yourself and don't get lost.
Yeah, but there's also a high chance that you're not going to get through, which is the second half of the story.
You're trying to keep us moving, and I'm stopping us up, and we haven't even got to the story. So go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, so stop. Let me just... Gorn and Gender snuck under the wall. They got past the crows, but the king in the north was there, and they got in a battle. Gorn killed the first king, the current king in the north, but then he was killed by the sun.
Yep.
And then that woke up the crows, and they got trapped in the rear. Gender somehow fought back across and got back to the cave tunnel.
Yeah.
It kind of got me confused. Like, was it the same tunnel?
I thought it was the same one.
Like, if it's the tunnel that but this is almost like it's a maze, right?
Think about Minecraft again. Just because you came out one spot, like you went in one spot and came out a different spot. If you turned around and went back in,
it looks so much different too immediately.
So Gorn didn't dig his.
No, I don't think so. I think
he didn't Shawshank this tunnel. This was a natural tunnel.
Arson Ice Axe Shawshanked his way and dug through the wall.
Yeah,
but Gorn is 100% natural.
Yes, that's my guess. Yeah,
Gorn found a natural tunnel and he just
cave system.
Yeah, so Gendel got lost and they lost their flames and they're still trapped under there and they eat other people.
To take us off course again, like people, that happens to people, man. They go caving like in real life and then they just never come back. They get stuck. That's terrifying.
Yeah, that's terrifying. Pretty sad.
The earth eats you.
Yeah, I'm good on that.
You always need to just have like a rope to you or something.
But not if you get stuck in rocks, like you go too deep and you're stuck.
Just don't go into tight spaces. That's a totally different spot.
Yeah, dude. Watching people like go through like those super tight spaces, and then, dude, I just get claustrophobic watching.
Like even John here says he has to crawl.
Yeah, dude. I don't know if I would have done what John did just to get back to Egret. That's claustrophobic to me.
I mean, John's kind of horny, so.
Yeah. So yeah, he's there. And they like laugh. Like you can hear their children still running around down there or whatnot.
And he's like, so was the passage lost? And this is kind of where we get back to the myth thing. She's like, some have looked for it, but those who do find Grendel's children and get eaten. And she's like, there's nothing to eat in the dark but flesh. And then she bites him and then it's sexy time.
Yeah. Bam. So she starts to get naked. Before that, he's like, you remind me of old Nan telling Bran monster stories. And she's like, oh, I'm an old lady. Let me show you how old I am. Bam, sexy.
So hold on, I didn't think anything of that like the first time I read that, but this time I'm like, hold on, that means that John's like not only been fucking her, but telling her about who Bran is and old
His
man,
life.
or else he would have been like, oh, that's That's you sound
Telling
like
my
this
brother.
old storyteller telling my brother, but he's using names and she knows what that means.
I don't know if she knows who Old Nan is, but he does. She probably knows who Bran is.
You can assume Old
Yeah.
Nan from the name Old Nan. Yeah, so I agree with that. But yeah, he's opening up a little bit.
Yeah.
So then she gets naked, and it's the first time he sees a naked lady, right? Like,
Yeah. And seeing her in like some light standing, right?
Under-
They've been cuddled in the furs. They've been under the blankets this whole time.
Probably out of necessity of just it's so cold out.
Well, yeah, for sure. And I mean, you're kind of surrounded by everybody too.
Yeah.
But and then he's thinking like, dang, I got a good looking wildling here. Of all the ones I could have, accidentally stolen.
Yeah.
But which is fun. Like, I mean, like, is that
Yeah.
true, or is it just John? Like, this one's giving him attention,
Well, I think I said this before too. It's like one of the things like once you've I think that's like a thing like study proven that when like you like love somebody, you find them more attractive over time.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
And like he's definitely been in a relationship with her. So
He started out when she had bad
Exactly.
teeth and like a plug-shaped
Exactly, yeah.
nose, right? And now she's got like really nice skinny legs and her teats are bouncing.
fire crotch,
Yeah,
curtains match the drapes.
No, it's brighter, bro. She's even luckier down there.
He saw the pink inside.
All right, so
that was the part when I was like, "Oh, George, come on, man."
so
the main point is John is as Jeff would say, John's a giver.
well, John was eye banging her, and she's like, "Yo, you can't just eye bang me. Like, you better start showing some shit too." And yeah, then he is a giver for sure, a giver.
I think you used that term in a podcast recently. When I was editing it, I was
Gotta
like,
be a
"Are people
giver,
going to
man."
understand what Jeff's saying here?" But
well,
I think
now
now
they will for
Now
sure.
it all comes full circle.
Hey, but before he starts being a giver, he's like, "Bam, I love you, love you, love you, love you, love you, love you."
Love the smell of you. Love your hair. Love your mouth. The way you kiss me. Your smile. Your teats. Your skinny legs and what's between them.
Yeah, lovey-dovey talk for sure.
So he goes down on her, and she's shocked. Definitely, first time that's happened to her.
Not a big wildling thing, because the thing is, you don't have furs long enough to have like
To be
that
running
situation.
around in that. I think it's just
so
again.
you can't do it outside because then you just get cold.
I think it speaks to the culture again. Like these people fuck like dogs, right? They're not like fucking like lovers type of thing.
I didn't think about that, but then if you're saying it that way, it goes back to Danny too, right? Because what do they tell Danny? Like, don't let him like take you like a slave or whatever. Like, take it, and then that's when she like takes him out. It's like when she like takes charge of it. Like, we're doing it my way.
That's what I think. Like, because then she's like, "Is that what you guys do to the ladies in your silk sheets?" Like,
is that the Lord's way to do it?
oh man, I just been getting like doggy style this whole time, and
Yeah.
all right, let's keep this moving through. So then they talk about like, all right, was this the first time? And she never really says like who the first time was, but we get to the part where Nelson was talking about where she was first almost stolen by a red-haired kid. Like she was like gonna kind of let it happen. She's like, all right, he's red-haired too. Like it's kind of lucky. But Longspear was like, nah, fuck that guy.
Yeah, it's kind of like a thing where I think like the people around you get to judge if the person that's like taking you out is worthy or not. And I think part of that comes from like I have a little sister, right?
Sure.
And if she wanted to date, if she was running around the total fuckboy, and I was like, yo, that dude's a total fuckboy, stop talking to him. That's it. And she's like, no, fuck you. Then that's it. And I can't do anything. In this world, you just go up, break the dude's arm, and then when he never talks to her again, and I can be like, yo, look how that pussy just never talked to you again after I broke his arm. Like if he actually cared about you, he would.
What?
Which is exactly what
are you
happens
saying?
here.
That is the
If he
worst
actually cared,
take.
he'd keep coming back. I don't know if I completely agree with Nelson's take, but
He'd clean up his act, and then he'd come back, or he'd come up like a man and like just try and like outmuscle me or something like that. Like prove
Bad
yourself.
take,
If
poor
you're
take.
a fuckboy, being a fuckboy, and you're gonna get fucked around, you should be able to get fucked around.
your first part of the take is a little bit weirder because like your sister could obviously in this day and age just be like, no, fuck you, I'm going to date him anyway, which probably happens more.
And then that's the end of the story.
Right,
Yeah.
but like here
way it should be.
they're a little bit more about like the clan. Like I'm part of this clan. Like it's almost like the betrothal of the North is like you need to prove yourself.
It's like an arranged marriage.
Hold on, right? So you need to prove that you're strong enough to have one of our clan's girls to make this pact. Like we're not just going to give
like
you.
She does
this-
say something about how it's disgusting when like you have to spread like your
for
genes,
other
right?
clans. Yeah,
And it's like it's super dishonorable to be a Lannister. Is pretty much what she's or one of Cersei's kids.
She explains this to Jon, but Jon doesn't realize that this is the same way it is, at least for the Highborns in Westeros. Like you want to marry other families, even if it's not like in the South. You'd want to marry like an Umber or like a Manderly to like make those people super loyal, and you have those bonds and that kind of stuff. So
it helps politically as well. Yeah,
it's not that different. But again, I think so. To clear up what I was saying about the whole like you can to try and not sound like a dick here, I think it just kind of like sets a criteria.
No backpedaling. You said what you said.
It sets her criteria. The people that around her in her clan, her family, get to set at least a bar of what you have to be in order to get to our daughter. And I agree. I see what Kyle's saying, and I 100% agree that
why is it up to you?
It's not up to them. It's up to the daughter.
Yeah, that makes me a little bit curious, Nelson. I want to defend you a little bit, so I'm going to try to defend you a tad. Like, is Longspear doing this because he cares a little bit more for Ygritte, or is he like head clans guy and he's just like, no, I'm just gonna like I'm defending every woman until.
Like I said, I think he's like, this dude's a fuckboy. Like you think he's cute because he has red hair, but this dude is nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I think like there might be a little bit more to the relationship between Ygritte and Longspear, where like they're obviously kind of still
they're like sister brother,
right? So like, but I don't know if Longspear feels like that to every girl. Like maybe there's another clans person for the other girl.
They're close friends.
Like she's like, and he's like, no, fuck that guy. Like. They're like if Tormund came up, if Tormund came up and he's like, yeah, I respect the shit out of Tormund, like, yeah, let's go, like, steal her. Like, does he just pass her? Does he just let him pass, or does he fight every guy that's ever tried?
No, I think he would let him.
What if she gets stolen in the middle of the night where Longspear's not there? Like, is that honorable then? Like, all right, you beat me. Did you beat him?
No, but I think the aspect there is, and that's why it's different than arranged marriages, where it's not like we're gonna pick somebody who we think's good for you. It's like we're gonna if there's somebody who we think's good for you, we'll let it happen. But if there's someone who's just good enough in something to get you away from us, whether it's fighting, whether it's sneaking, whether it's whatever, then at least they're good at something.
Yeah, they were able to.
They might be a total dickhead and they might be total cruel to you, but they're good at something, so you're going to have offspring who are good at something. I mean, I think the mentality.
It's super hard to be. We can't talk about this stealing of women and try to be politically correct because it just doesn't work.
I know.
We can't. Obviously, it's not a thing, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
All right, let's move on. So, and then the biggest part about this is that even wedding or betting your brother, father, or clankin, which clankin might not even be truly family. There's how many removed here, Nelson? You tell me.
Oh, God, don't do that again.
I'm just guessing the clans are smaller though, so it's like groups of like 20. I'm thinking, right?
I was making a joke. But it offends the gods and are cursed with weak or sickly children. So boom.
Or
I didn't write the or.
Even monsters. Which Joffrey's a monster. I feel like somebody said that.
Well, you were the one saying Lannisters, right, Kyle? You're like, this is all
I
about
did say Lannisters, but I feel like somebody said Joffrey's a monster before Sansa or somebody.
Oh, okay.
A clan can and maybe she doesn't understand that the clan is a lot of her family too, though. Like, I mean, they might be cousins and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's probably is made up a lot of family.
Yeah, which I think is why it's like that unwritten
But
rule.
then John says, but Craster is a wildling and he wed his daughters, and she's like, well, not really. He's kind of one of yours. Like, his father's a crow, and he came out here and then went back to the wall, and then the crow or the wildling that he bed had a baby, and that's Craster.
Stole a girl and bailed on her.
So
bang, yeah, baby Craster.
Yep. And now here he is.
Craster's blood is black, and he bears a heavy curse.
Yikes.
Yep. And she's like, I was afraid you were going to do the same to me. You were going to steal me and then just run back to the wall. And John's like, what do you mean? I didn't steal you. Which is weird that they're having this conversation.
He's been saying that all
earlier he said they already had this conversation.
It also doesn't make sense to me, too, because then Ygritte is like, yeah, you killed Orell and then you captured. Like, he never really. She's like, the moment you put your knife to my throat, you stole me. Like, I don't really get it.
Well, he doesn't know the game that he's playing.
At that point, it's game over for her, right? Like, it's up to him what happens next. Is whether like he takes her.
Yeah, okay, I'll take it.
And that to their people, their culture, like is part of the game. Like I said, that's the stealing, right? And he doesn't understand. Jon Snow, you know nothing. You don't know what you did that night was stealing me.
Yeah, that's true. So she's like, "Yo, can you do that thing with your tongue one more time?" They diddle twice. They jump in the water. I think maybe that's the second time they do it in the water.
Third time.
Maybe they're just splashing around. Egret's like, "I never want to leave this cave." Bam. End
Well,
scene.
Well, hold on. Not only so when she says, "Will you do that thing with your tongue again?" She's like, "And I'll see if you like it too." 69 action,
Yeah.
big time.
Sure.
She's saying, "Oh, we'll see if you like doing it to me." No, she's saying you're gonna.
Yeah, I honestly was a little bit confused at like the order of operations there, but maybe it is.
Well, because
the same
earlier
time.
when he had did it the first time, he's like, "Did you like it?" You
You
seem
can
like
just take turns, Nelson.
I thought they were
no,
taking
69
turns,
is
but-
more fun.
I like how
Okay.
she calls it the Lord's kiss.
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
that too.
that was funny. All right, they diddle, then they get it. They stay in the cave.
She's like, "Yeah,
All
let's
right.
never leave. Let's go back."
What's
down.
next for John, Kyle? Are they going over the wall? Is he staying in the furs all next chapter?
Oh no, I think he's going over the wall. I'm hoping he's going over the wall. So I am actually hoping that he runs into Bran. And you mentioned that earlier, Nelson, with the dragon.
Ice dragon.
They're
And John
following the
sees
same,
it. So I mean, but
Star?
I'm trying to think of what side of that. Yeah, Bran's on the Flint Rock. Oh, that was something else that we kind of skipped over. So there was a part where they talked about the Flint Mountains
Long
and stuff
lakes.
like that. Like
Yeah.
yeah, the big valleys and all that. Exactly. It's another Bran kind of similarity.
Well, and to your point, if you look at the map, right, they're both on the same
they're
side.
kind of headed to
Yeah.
yeah.
They're both on like
It's
the
probably
mountainy
part
side
of the
of the
same
north.
range, even right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
Glacier ranges, like the Finger Lakes, pretty much.
exactly.
It's a good call. So yeah, we've been going way too long for this chapter and how short
It's
it
not
was.
way too long for this chapter. It wasn't a long episode.
Clearly,
but
we like talking about the sex stuff more than we thought we did because we.
I don't know.
A lot.
I think we were just on tonight. You know, some nights we're just funnier than
Tired,
others.
drunk. Yeah, good. It was a good night for the podcast.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get out of
it'll
here.
be fine.
Let's get Kyle out of here so we can get on the spoiler section. And this edit's not horrible for me. We'll see Kyle in the next one for. I actually don't even know what it is. Do you guys know? I closed my book.
Danny.
Danny 3. We'll see the rest of you guys in the spoiler section. Bye bye.
All right, later, nerds.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Bye, Kyle. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Now,
on
on the spoiler
to
section
the spoiler section
for
with John 3.
Jeff, what we got?
All right, so I'm just gonna get into the biggest one now because we spent a lot of time. I don't think there's a whole lot. There's a whole lot of sweets though. Glow would have been fired up for. Oh my God, sweet, sweet, sweet! It's the sweetest thing ever. All right, let me just kind of run through some of these sweets real quick. His vows, her maidenhood, none of it mattered. Only the heat of her mouth, the mouth on his, the finger that pinched at his nipple. Isn't that sweet? Question mark. She said again. No, not so fast. Oh, slow. Yes, like that. There now. Yes, sweet, sweet. He
That is
also,
weird.
I think, mentioned. Yeah, like come on, in the heat of passion.
Yeah,
you're gonna
sweet
say
doesn't.
sweet, sweet.
Yeah, sweet doesn't sound like a sex word.
There was another sweet he mentioned about her a little bit earlier, I think. Maybe it was just that isn't that sweet. But then like her saying sweet sweet and then it continues to go on right after that. The proving had been so sweet though.
What's the him
proving-
proving himself? Yeah,
Yeah.
because he's thinking about the first time.
And Egret had gone to sleep beside him with her head against his chest, and that was sweet as well. Dangerously sweet.
Both of those, I get what like the glow relation, where it's
Yeah.
like, oh, it does feel good. It's sweet because it feels good, but it's also like bittersweet because I'm betraying everything that I'm trying to stand for, type thing.
Yeah, I mean it's just crazy in those 3 paragraphs, and really the one part is just the second half of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I think I'm missing 1 or 2.
It's probably in the chapter like 10 times.
Dude, it was in there a lot. So I don't know. Like obviously, yeah, like the dangerously sweet one. He's falling in love. He truly is falling in love with this girl.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be an issue when he does go to turn cloak on her back to the Night's Watch.
Yeah, well, the whole thing is like sweet is like lies and stuff, and it doesn't seem like John's not lying about anything really in the chapter,
Yeah.
but like his whole thing, like the whole thing he's doing with the wildlings is a lie.
Yeah.
He's like, and like
Yeah.
I said earlier in the non-spoiler, he thinks about it throughout the chapter. Like we didn't really touch on it in the non-spoiler, but like every other paragraph is John saying, "Am I still a brother? Is what I'm doing dishonor?
Yep.
Am I like you know what I mean? All that
Yep.
stuff."
All right, so that was like I don't know if it's the biggest one. Like I don't really have anything spoilers. Like
Hold on, let me hit you with one. When
Okay.
John's going over constellations
Okay.
that are the same, that both him and Ygritte know.
Okay.
Ice Dragon, Shadowcat, Moon Maid, the Sword of the Morning.
Yeah, so that did perked my ears up a little bit, but I don't have any knowledge of the why would it be a constellation?
Well, the Sword of the Morning is what they call the person who carries the
Is
sword
Dawn. Right.
So to me, this isn't quite true because we know there's a lot of like communication between the wildlings and the people in the north. But to me, the whole point of like kind of the things that we shared were things that were common just across everything, and also like before the long night.
I'm with you.
Like we know this because this was a true thing. Like the Sword of the Morning, Dawn might have been the Sword of the Morning, that like position might have been created at the end of the long night. Right.
It was that after before Conquest?
Way before Conquest. Like
first men times?
8,000 years.
I'm just trying to think
Conquest.
like before like all these wildlings ran up north, like were they fighting with?
Again, it's not wildlings ran up north. Just think of it as like long night happened,
and then they built a wall.
Well, exactly, and they built a wall, and there were some people on the north and some people on the south.
So they were fighting with the southern side of the wall before the wall was built.
There was exactly. There was no wall, so it was just everybody fighting. All the first men were fighting.
Like if they had, you would think that they had Valyrian steel to win that battle, right?
Well, there's a story that old Nan has told Bran about like the last hero who goes north with like a dozen companions and a dog and a horse or something like that, and they all die, and he's the last one, and I think that he ends the long night. But then you also have the Azor Ahai prophecy, right? So there's a bunch of different prophecies of like stories of how the long night ended.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is what we know, like what we think is going to happen in the future is that Dawn is going to basically be Lightbringer. And be the thing that like ends the long night. So assume that happened 8,000 years ago and somebody took Dawn, ended the long night, and then after that
dedicated a constellation to it.
Well, first off, after that they said, okay, now we need a position. We need to create a title of somebody who's always going to be carrying this sword and ready for this to happen. And we're going to call that the Sword of the Morning because the sword's called Dawn. Because what we learn about the Sword of the Morning too, Dawn is really unique in the fact that it's not a family sword where like it doesn't always have to be carried by a Dane.
Interesting.
It has to be carried by somebody worthy.
Okay, so Arthur Dane was the Sword of the Morning. That wasn't just his nickname. I kind of thought that was just his nickname. I didn't know there was a Sword of the Morning.
Yeah, and we'll learn about this, I think, in Feast of Crows. So, but what's happening? Where's Dawn now? Why is like Edric Dane?
Who's worthy of it?
Like Edric Dane is like the heir to House Dane. He's with Barrett.
Yeah,
Arya's about to meet him. Why does he not have Dawn on his back? It's because he's not worthy. You don't just get it for being the heir to House Dane. You have to be worthy. And again, we don't know what that means, but like that's kind of like what we've heard.
All right, so let me just throw something kind of wild out there to you. Do you think like White Claw?
Longclaw.
By any chance is Longclaw, I'm sorry.
College girl.
Do you think by any chance Longclaw is Dawn undercover?
I don't think so. I think because we hear that Dawn looks different. It looks like milk glass. Like it doesn't look like Valyrian steel. I think Dawn is locked up at Summerhall, or not Summerhall, at Starfall, and we've never seen it. It's at Starfall's the House Dane house. I don't think we've ever seen it. So the thing is,
I mean, it's just like
when there's no one worthy, I think it just sits at Starfall, and they just like hold it there until there is somebody worthy. We've never heard of it going to somebody who's not in House Dane, but again, like what we hear about, like how it gets passed around in Feast of Crows, I think
doesn't have to be a worthy member of House Dane. I mean, who's the judge? Who's the judge of it?
Again, and what I'm saying is based off like I think probably Darkstar telling Arianne and Feast of Crows is where I'm guessing we hear about this. But again, going back
I'm
to
just
this
curious
chapter,
of who's judging. I completely agree with you.
Yeah, who's worthy? Exactly. It's one of those things that's weird. So again, just to kind of flush it out because I didn't finish it, but say the long night happens. This guy finishes it. They establish this title or this role called the Sword of the Morning. They name maybe the sword was already named Dawn, or that's where they name it Dawn, right? And then they build a wall. But at that point, because the wall is being built after both of those first two things, then there's similarities shared. And one of those similarities could have been a constellation, right? So to me, the fact that the Sword of the Morning is a shared constellation, to me implies that like the Sword of the Morning was in fact something important to the long night.
Pre-wall.
Why else would the wildlings know about it if it wasn't like a long night thing? You know what I mean?
I mean, just interacts interaction with Rangers would be the only thing. But
House Dane is the south as far like Starfall is as south as you can go
yeah, I gotcha.
in Westeros. Why would the wildlings know what the title of the people in House
Dane? Good
Dane?
point. I'm not fighting on it. I
know. I'm just kind of hammering home. That's where I think this is super. That's why I think that's super interesting. I think
it's flush with the wood. I think you got it.
Cool.
All right, so there's a tunnel under the wall.
Yep.
Bran's about to travel under one. It can't be this one though, because they Shawshank this tunnel.
So this is going to be one of the things that I defer. I'm going to defer this tunnel thing.
We'll get there next time.
A lot of the theories, before we talk about them, I like to think about them and like do some outside research first. I've been working like crazy at actual work, so I don't have time to look into some of these stuff.
Wow,
two things I'm going to defer are Gendel and Gorn's caves. I'll give it a little teaser now. There are theories, I'm pretty sure, that pretty much Bloodraven's cave is connected to the Crypts of Winterfell. And I think this Gendel and Gorn story is supposed to be like part of the foreshadowing for that being true.
That'd be cool.
Part of the belief in that is like I know I've said this to you before, like the Weirwood net, right? I've said that to you before.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you know what that actually means?
All the Weirwood roots were connected?
Are actually connected. Yes.
Yeah.
So like there's actually like not just like there's like a magical connection, but they're all physically connected underneath, which is why you don't get any Weirwoods on islands. Yeah. And also, like, there's a weird Weirwood.
Why couldn't they go all the way under the water?
I guess you could, technically.
Dude,
theoretically.
Can I just do a quick second before you go off?
Go ahead.
I dug out the flower bed in our backyard, and there was, like, these kind of wild trees that were sprouting up. Dude, root systems are crazy. That shit was awful.
Dude, you grab a root, you're like, I'll pull this thing out, and then you're like 20 feet later in the middle of your yard ripping up grass. Like, what the fuck am I doing?
Dude, it goes under my deck. I just had to say fuck it. I just cut a couple of them. But
dude,
like,
plants are crazy.
Dude, then you pull up a root and then it sprouts off like 30 feet that direction. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Dude, I was killing myself.
Plants are crazy.
So finish up
what I was gonna say is there's theories about this about a cave system. I haven't looked into them, so I can't tell you too much more about than what I've just said.
Yeah, I just don't see like it's one of the facts that like why is that going to matter here in the future? Like, is it just cool world building stuff, or
I think it matters because some people think that hold the door isn't going to be Hodor holding the door to let Bran get outside, but to let Bran get down deeper.
Okay,
and that's how he's going to
have to tunnel his way through to Winterfell.
Like it makes sense kind of on the TV show because Hodor's holding the door, and then like Mira's 20 feet away. And then cut, and then the next episode starts, and somehow they're totally safe.
Like, why did they just keep chasing Mira? It made no sense at all.
Yeah, you can't do that in the books, right? So it makes more sense to me if Hodor somehow holding the door that he like actually holds somehow forever, right?
Yeah. Or let's just say something like this: if we want to play this fantasy, and then maybe we can defer. Hodor's actually holding the door. They're going across like a tunnelish cave type of thing, and there's maybe a bridge that Mira then can destroy, and Hodor is just caught on the other side of it.
Yeah. I think where you're on there, you're getting pretty close to Preston Jacobs' theories. Because I think Preston Jacobs thinks that there's somehow like an underground escape, either like up a cliff where Bran like climbs a rope that the others can't climb, or like a bridge type thing where the bridge collapses after Bran crosses it, and it's because of Hodor that happens or something. But again, I haven't looked up these theories, so we're all speculation here. Last thing. Not last thing. Well, I'll circle back to one last thing that we can actually talk about, but another one we're going to defer is Craster. So we get this quote about Craster. Kyle kind of read it, kind of didn't. His father was a crow who stole a woman out of White Tree Village. But after he had her, he flew back to the wall. She went to Castle Black once to show the crow his son. But the brothers blew their horns and run her off. Craster's blood is black, and he bears a heavy curse. So there was a person who was on the wall who is now attached to a tree underground, and people think that this was Craster's father.
Bloodraven,
who was a bastard Targaryen, right? He was the son of Aegon IV.
Okay.
People think that Craster is his bastard son with a wildling woman, making all of his children actual Targaryen blood, right? Hence why the others want them. Again, I haven't looked into this theory, so I don't want to go too deep on it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's the gist of it, though, is that Craster is Bloodraven's... All right,
find some more.
Craster is Bloodraven's bastard, and that's partially why they're so interested in his children, because his children are kind of Targaryens, and Craster's kind of Targaryen.
That's a wild-ass rumor.
That's a theory. Again, I know that's a thing. I haven't looked into it, though, before the podcast, so not going to go too much more into it. But the last thing I have for this one is just all the Ned stuff. Kyle's onto it.
Yeah, he is onto it pretty good. And it does, like, this chapter was kind of screaming it.
I don't know. He never like. I think
I don't know
we
if
played it
it's-
off. I think we played it off well in the chapter.
trying, yeah.
How we paralleled it to Ned just trying to be like
Yeah.
honorable, and John's trying to be honorable, and like they each fucked up once. Like, oh, maybe Ned fucked up more than once. We just don't know. It was like I think what John's thinking there. But yeah, Kyle's onto it, and I think it's probably going to be more obvious as the show goes. I mean, let's be honest. If Dave and Dan figured it out, Kyle figured it out. I mean, we didn't figure it out, but we watched the show first, though. We might have figured it out if we read the books first. Who knows?
It's not fair. I
Probably
mean, if I read the book twice, I might have been like, "What the fuck?"
We're so big, and Kyle. That's pretty much what he's doing. He reads each chapter twice.
Yeah,
because he reads it once and he reads it pretty much again on the podcast.
Like, if it's not a spoiler, like we're actually pointing shit out. Like, I think I pointed out, like, I brought up the fact that he thought of Arya being his actual sister. Like, we might have just been able to gloss right over that, and he would have been like,
yeah, for sure,
forgot about it by the next chapter.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, in this one, probably not because there was so many mentions of Ned. But yeah,
for sure.
For the most
that
part,
was a theme. It was a big theme of it.
Definitely.
So Ghost, I just want to talk about Ghost running off real quick. Kind of weird. He does get back to Castle Black, right?
He does, but to your point, I think you had said earlier, there's like, you think he could like ward to Ghost and make sure he gets to Castle Black. He doesn't. Like the wall stops that shit.
Yeah.
So like once he's on this, when Ghost does come back to Castle Black, it's the chapter. I'm pretty sure what happens is Stannis offers Jon, you can be Lord of Winterfell.
Yeah.
And Jon is like very seriously considering it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is all I've ever wanted. And then he just has an urge to walk off past the wall. And he does, and Ghost is sitting there, and he comes back and he tells Stannis no. And then the next chapter, I think, becomes Lord Commander.
Yeah.
So a lot of people think that Ghost somehow had an influence on that. How does Jon know to go north of the wall? That makes you think that there must be some connection there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's just that connection. That's the connection, for sure.
Yeah, but I think that's the next time we see Ghost, is at the chapter stand. And I might be wrong on that one. I haven't looked at that one.
I'm going to believe you. It sounds too good it sounds too good to not be true.
I think that's true, that it's the chapter that Stannis, either the chapter or the chapter after Stannis offers him, which is a while. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it might be the end of this book.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it actually is the end of this book. Because
then we get Jon. Yeah.
Well, I always think Feast of Crows and Dance of Dragons are like after each other, which makes you think we have just as much more time to cover story wise.
But it's the same story.
But they're the same story, so we only have one more book to cover, pretty much. Like Jon and Sam just take place at the same time.
And we get Jon being Lord Commander, right? So
yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's all I got.
Hold on,
we'll call it there.
I just
all right, go ahead.
Anything on the? I mean, we've kind of nailed this one past the board. The kin bangers.
Yeah, like
we've talked about kin slayers being super cursed. I don't know if we've talked about kin bangers.
Like Joffrey being a monster. I think Kyle called it out. I think he said it. I didn't want to confirm because I'm not sure if it's true or not. I know this is how it works in the books, but the time that when Sansa calls Joffrey a monster is when also we can talk about the Thens real quick. In the show, at least, I think it's the same in the books. In the show, when Olenna is talking to Sansa and is like, "Hey, tell me about Joffrey. Tell me true." When she finally does, she says, "He's a monster. He cut off my father's head and said that was mercy." I'm pretty sure that's in both. So yeah, that's I don't think that's a spoiler if we say it, but I think Kyle pretty much had everything that we had for that one. Joffrey is a monster. The last thing was for the Thens. The Thens in this are different, right? So there is Ice River clans that they mentioned that are cannibals. Like that's one of the people that surrounds the Thens. But the Thens themselves aren't cannibals, first of all. And like they don't speak a different language. Like in the show, they're like creepy and like weird.
Mm-hmm.
In the books, they're kind of like. I thought it was really interesting that Kyle compared them to the Dothraki, because like Kyle has the most pure take. If we're being honest, like me and you we had conceptions of what the Thens were from the show. Yeah. Even on this reread, I'm thinking they have like scars on their faces and shit like that, right?
Yeah, I mean they were.
We don't hear anything, and they eat in their cannibals. In the books, that's the Ice River clans, the cannibals. But yeah, so I can tell you're looking for the last Jon chapter, huh?
Yes. All right, so 1026 is when Stannis comes and saves them. The next Jon chapter...
I doubt there's another one in that book.
There's two more, I think. As you wish, but consider quickly, I'm not a patient man, as your black brothers are about to discover. Stannis put a thin, fleshless hand on Jon's shoulder. Say nothing of what we discussed here today to anyone, but... when you return, you need only bend your knee, lay your sword, and blah, blah, blah. You'll be Jon of Winterfell. So,
that's crazy that all that happens in this book, dude. Storm of Swords is jam-packed, baby.
All right, so then there's a Sam chapter.
Yeah, that's where he makes Jon Lord Commander. Actually, maybe not. I think Jon decides to stay at the wall before he becomes Lord Commander. So that's probably
The
Sam
last
talking to
line
Dennis
is,
Mallister.
Any fool, Sam agreed. Yeah, he's talking to Mallister. Even me, but well, I shouldn't be telling you, but King Stannis means to force Sir Dennis on us if we do not choose a man tonight. I heard
He's
him
talking to
tell
Cotter Pike.
Maester
Yeah.
Aemon that after the rest of you were sent away. The next chapter
Yeah,
is
so,
Jon.
so what Sam does there is Sam talks to Cotter Pike and Dennis Mallister, who are the Lord Commanders of the commanders of the Shadow Tower and Eastwatch, who are pretty much the runners up for Lord Commander. Also, again, without getting too off topic, interesting that the two commanders of Eastwatch and Shadow Tower are Cotter Pike and Dennis Mallister. Pike.
Oh, that's is that
Iron Islands?
Yeah.
And Mallister, which is Seaguard, which is like Patrick Mallister and Lord Jason Mallister are like it's the closest pretty much land-based castle to the Iron Islands. So they're like the biggest enemies.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure.
So Sam basically tells the other one, he tells Cotter Pike that Dennis Mallister is going to get picked if he doesn't vote for Jon, and he tells Dennis Mallister that Cotter Pike is going to get picked if he doesn't vote for Jon, tricking them both into voting for Jon.
Yeah, so in the last Jon chapter, in the middle of them trying to vote, I guess, for Lord Commander, he runs out, he goes past the wall, he sees Ghost, and it says he had his answer. There were, for 5 Starks and 1 white as snow, he had his answer then. And then he came back, and then the last line is, the wall was his in the night dark, and he had a king to face.
So you're saying when he says there's 5 wolves and 1 white, he's saying I'm not that. I'm not a Winterfell cat.
I'm not a Stark, basically.
Yeah.
And if we just want to go, if you want to go like white hair, I mean, if he's a Targaryen, like, right, like white hair type thing.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever kind of connected Ghost being a white haired person, and like that's always what you hear about Targaryens is like
albino. Also, Ghost is white with red eyes. Does that mean he's albino?
Yeah.
Like, is Ghost actually albino?
I mean, I think if you categorized an animal in real life, he would be an albino wolf, right?
But guess what? We know about one albino Targaryen, like an actual albino, Bloodraven.
Ghost is Bloodraven.
Bloodraven is an actual albino.
Ghost has been Bloodraven this whole time.
Ghost is Bloodraven. All right, we're done.
Bye.
Way too long. See you guys in the next one. Danny 3.
Like, share, comment, subscribe, write a review. Love us. We're on Discord. Bye.
Bye-bye.